Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Hey guys, I'm bored and X is shitty tonight, so how about we share our real-life paranormal experiences? Call it nope if you want, but I'll start. I have a few. Be me with friend. He's driving me home from a fire and get together with friends. Not really in the spook type of mood, so it wasn't imagined. Side note, I live on a dead-end road that at the time had no working street light. We pass the short-ass bridge that leads to the turnoff into my road. Notice what looks like a girl on what looks like either a motor scooter or a bike, seems to be wearing a large coat. He rides into my road right as we turn into it, so we lose sight of her behind the trees. Turn in and there is no one, and we just saw her, literally 2 seconds before turning into my road. We look at each other and he asks me if I saw that too. At this point we are stopped in the car. I say, yeah, that fucking girl just disappeared. Or some dumb shit. At this point I get the chills bad. Stopped where she would have been. We looked around using the headlights to check if she went into the thin woods nearby. Nowhere to be found. Drops me off after we briefly make horrified faces at each other. Ever since I dislike walking down my road alone, and it's a minor legend among my friends. Also, the friend who brought me home died just the past summer, just as a side note. Second one that I just remembered, not sure what exactly it was in retrospect. But looking back, just remembering this, it kinda gives me chills. Be me like somewhere around 14-ish. Doing some stupid assignment for school that I had to type on my parents' computer. Typing like a dumb ass, slow as fuck when something happens. The computer starts typing on its own, not like the keys, but it starts writing shit. I really don't remember what it said, but it was nothing weird or scary. It was mostly completely random, but it asked me how my day was and I responded with, alright, or something dumb. Thought it was maybe a keylogger or some hacking shit and didn't know what to do. Looking back, I don't think it was because I could type while it was, but it would just backspace if I interrupted. I reset my computer, worrying my files would be deleted. Nothing ever happened like that again, and my computer had no ill effects. Still don't know what the fuck it was to this day. Anyone know what it could have been? Third one. Be 16-ish. Girlfriend at the time tells me about some house that is supposedly haunted that she went to with a friend of hers. Says they went inside and heard noises like stuff moving and creaking, so they both freak out and run outside. At this point, according to her, they ran out of the house and a high-pitched horrifying screaming started coming from it. They ran the fuck away until it stopped and walked home, crying in fear. I called bullshit, and seeing the house was apparently off of a trail near my house, had her try to show me where it was. She kept trying to get me to go back because she had a feeling of dread, told me she'd do something if we went back. I said no because I wanted to check it out and I knew she'd do it anyway. Finally get to the trail off of the main trail that leads to the house. She starts sort of freaking out and says she wants to go home now. We hear movement and she says she saw something in the woods near where we were. It was a large clearing that the trail went through. Give in because I lost interest and she's bitching, plus knew it was just raccoons being assholes or something. Plan to go back at a later date. Fast forward to 4/20/2012. Didn't smoke but wanted to walk that night for some reason. Plan with 2 friends to venture to the abandoned house and investigate for the fuck of it. Fat friend decides to bring his artist cousin because he's into paranormal shit. I don't care because the more people the better. Eventually it starts downpouring and non-fat friend decides to go home right as we enter the trail leading to it. It's around midnight. Me, fat friend and artist wait for the rain to go away, and luckily it does after a little bit. Head past the first trail, had black top while the other one was a dirt trail and much darker. When we enter the second trail, it starts to get a little weird. There is a bike path along the main part of the second, and we keep hearing sounds of movement up there keeping pace with us. Ignore and continue past it to the trail leading to the house. Eventually, get up a hill that we can faintly see the area from. At this point, start hearing what sounds like multiple people running around us out of sight. The hill was surrounded by woods besides the path. Autist starts freaking out and practically crying, while me and Fatty immediately get down on the ground. Eventually Artist follows and we listen. Hear a faint but apparent scream coming from the abandoned area and look down, seeing some weird glowing shit on the ground, kinda frozen in fear at this point, with the movement and screaming, but eventually turn around and signal Fat and Art to follow me back down the hill, sprint back to the main trail as the scream becomes a faint wail cry. Freaked out, we walk to the main road at the end of the second trail and talk about what just happened and eventually go home, no longer in shock from not knowing what the fuck was going on.
Let's see, as far as spooky shit goes, I really haven't had something happen to me, but something came up last weekend. It goes as follows. Brother is moving into his new house, so I have to go help him move and watch the kids for the next 3 days till he and his ex can work daycare out. Showing me around the new house. In an offshoot room of the garage. There's a canning room. Big deadbolt and padlock on the door. The deadbolt is kinda half hanging on like the screws are in the wall, but are loose like it's been pounded from the other side. He unlocks it to show me this massive badass canning room with lots of shelves. Step inside, it instantly gets freezing, but I don't mind and walk in. He tries to turn on the light bulb, but it just flickers and goes out with a loud pop. I jokingly say, "Too spooky for me," and with that we walk out and he shows me the rest of the house. About a day later or so he has some friends over to help move the heavier stuff. I'm inside watching the kids at this point and he's showing them the garage. After we're done moving everything, his friends are getting ready to leave, and as I'm walking over to them and my brother to tell them goodbye, I hear them talking to my brother about a bad spirit that was in the canning room and that one of his 2 friends didn't even want him to open the door. His 2 friends are brothers, by the way, who are both pretty in tune with the spiritual. I look up at my brother and he has sort of a grim look on his face. They leave. Later come to find out that the previous owner died in that room. Later find out that he didn't tell either of them this. I don't believe in that type of shit, but goddamn, I had to sleep in that house for 4 days or so after those assholes ruined it for me. Still too spooky for me.
So I don't really like to tell the story because most people wouldn't believe it. I don't blame them because it sounds like the plot of some shitty horror movie. But my friend and I didn't realize until after we left that it could possibly have been paranormal, and I'm still not convinced, but here's my story. Sorry for no green text. Be in college. Hear about some old abandoned house in the woods behind the campus. Apparently it's where African American staff members used to live before integration. Being a history buff, I'm very excited to go visit it. My friend, who's a first-year photography student, wants to come with me and take photos. We plan a trip and go to the old house the day after a storm, so it's all muddy and dark and creepy. We have to walk about a mile down this old dirt road, but we finally get to this ramshackle abandoned house in the middle of the woods. The house is filled with old stuff that dates back from what I would assume is about the 1940s. There's an old piano and some books about African witchcraft. Super cool. I start poking around and my friend is taking photographs of the stuff in and around the house. Suddenly this chubby little boy appears. It was strange because I didn't see or hear him come out of the woods, but he was just suddenly standing on the front porch looking at us, as we are in the entryway. The kid is about 10. He says something like,
"Hey, what are you guys doing here?"
in a really grave, serious tone. I guess my buddy was sort of nervous, as I did most of the talking. Hey man, we're just students at the college. We're here working on a photography project. Not trying to steal anything or break anything, we just wanted to have a look around. He relaxes visibly and says,
Oh, that's fine. We just didn't want you to get hurt. My dad owns this land, he says we would get in trouble if someone got hurt here. He let me borrow the car to drive down here, just to make sure you were okay.
For some reason I don't even stop to think, how the fuck did he or his dad know we were here? I just say something like, oh, I understand, it's a cool place you have here. That's cool your dad let you drive the car, he must really trust you. The kid and I made small talk about the area for a while, nothing really remarkable, just talking about how it used to belong to the school and there's a lot of old items around. The kid is probably about 10 to 13. Meanwhile, my friend is snapping pictures of this dead crow in the front yard of the house. I'm wishing this talkative kid would go away so I could properly explore. Eventually my friend tells me we should go. Kid insists we don't have to go if we don't want to, but my friend interjects that we have to get back and eat dinner and study. Okay, whatever. I convinced my friend to walk towards the road instead of back the way we came, towards the school, because it's a nice day and we can walk by the old cemetery off the road, she can snap some photos there, etc. The kid says he's gonna stay there and hang out at the house because he likes it there. On the way towards the road, my friend is talking about how weird the kid was and how he made her uncomfortable. She says something like,
He snuck up on us like a fucking ghost.
I just think she's being paranoid and ignore her. When we got to the road we walked past this old wreck of a car. It's probably from the 1970s and looks like it was just rammed into a fucking tree and left there to rot. I ask my friend if she wants to photograph it, she starts freaking out and saying,
Remember? The kid said he'd driven here. Do you see any other cars, Anon?
Manage to convince her that that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard and she's just being over imaginative. She says I can check it out, but she doesn't want to shoot it. I walk towards it and stumble over one of those little makeshift road crosses for people who died in accidents. I'm kind of starting to nope. I walk up to the car and peek inside. Nothing in there, just a wrecked old Chevy of some sort, windshield all crushed in. Lol, I'm such a pussy. Start to walk back to where my friend is standing. Decide to check out the little cross thing, see if there's a name or a date. Nope, it's too old and rotten to make out any writing. Then I fucking noticed it. A scrap of an old blue flannel shirt that was either wrapped around or lying at the foot of the cross. The fucking kid was wearing the same kind of blue flannel shirt. Disbelief. Pick up the shirt. Holes and tears all in it, but it looks like a boy's size large. Trying to stay calm, but my friend shrieks.
Is that his fucking shirt, Anon?
Power walk the fuck back to the school, don't stop by the graveyard that day. Neither I nor my friend told anyone about this for a long time. We made several trips back, but nothing spooky happened other than a general feeling of sadness and unease. I want to try to find the pictures she took, but I think they're just close-ups of debris and they don't have the kid or maybe even the house in them.
So this happened around 8 years ago, but only recently has it scared the living shit out of me. Be me about 11 years old. My friend and I are interested in capturing ghosts on camera and audio. Live in a village which is renowned for being haunted. Decide to take our Walkman up to the local graveyard. Walk around for hours asking stupid shitty questions and finding the creepiest spots. Nothing happens, so we head back to a friend's house as I was staying over that night. Friend puts tape on the speakers while we sit playing the PlayStation. Audio recorded lasts about 3 hours. Tape playing in the background. We aren't taking much notice. Woman's voice comes across clear as day.
Mutters something like, "Willow tree. Literal tears in my eyes. I'm shitting one that bad. Friend and I decide we'll look for the tree in the morning, when it's bright and not scary and shit. Next day, go back to the graveyard. Looking for a willow tree, but can't seem to find one. Give up and decide to ask the vicar who tends to the gardens every Sunday. He says he's not sure, but reckons there might be one right at the back in the other field. We go look and sure enough there's a willow tucked away in the corner. One solitary grave placed behind the tree. Holy shit. We get the Walkman out and start asking questions again. Take the tape back after an hour but there's nothing caught on tape this time. Lose interest after a day or two. Now, back in the 90s, a schoolgirl went missing in the village after she got off the bus. Nobody saw her again, but a bloke who owns the main pub in the village got arrested for her murder and sent down, although the body was never found and he never admitted to it. This is the part that shit me up big time. Be me 8 years later, now. Haven't spoken to friend since we left high school. Get a message on Facebook from him asking if I remember the Walkman and the grave etc. Tell him of course, seeing as that voice is literally ingrained into my memory. He tells me there's a big investigation into the body of the schoolgirl due to new leads opening. It's all over the local news. Read on a website that a grave is being exhumed, as it's believed the murderer had managed to dump the body in an open grave. Ask my friend to go see which grave it is, as I don't live in the village anymore. He goes down, and sure as can, it's the grave behind the willow tree. All cordoned off by forensics and police force. Literally shit my pants and can't decide if it's just a massive coincidence or not. It never really bothered me when I was younger. Yeah, the voice was scary as fuck, but I just shrugged it off after a while. It's only recently with the whole police investigation that it's really bothered me. It's almost as if the girl was asking to be found. Still brings tears to my eyes and gives me chills when I think about it.
So I'm sitting on my front porch, smoking a cigarette and enjoying the lovely spring day when a cute little brown bird, a peculiar one which I've never seen before, flies over to the white pine just in front of me, hops over to the end of a branch as close to me as it can get, I'd say a little under 10 feet away, and starts bouncing around on the branch, cheeping and giving me this crazy inquisitive look. I was really perplexed. I thought to myself, whoa, this bird is really checking me out right now. Naturally my brain goes in one direction and, what if this isn't really a bird, yet a being in the guise of a small bird in order to serve as some sort of spy, or in order to observe, clearly fantastical. So, I devised a test. I softly, yet firmly spoke, "I know what you are." The bird stopped bouncing and was literally taken aback. I mean, they actually even leaned back as if in disbelief, which was weird. Then the bird hopped over to the other side of the tree, looked over its shoulder back at me, and flew away. I believe a number of entities are observing and occasionally directly influencing my life.
I've had a really similar experience before, myself. Also outside, smoking. In the summer, I was about 17. My parents didn't know I smoked yet, so I would go off into the forest and hills, with a sketchbook or novel. Sitting under the trees, smoke in one hand, pencil in the other. Little rabbit comes up to me, stares at me, comes closer and closer. Figure it was just curious. I'd been there for a few hours, so the wildlife was getting used to me. It comes within arm's reach. Start crappily drawing it. I actually looks at the page, then back at me. Sits back down. Start getting paranoid. Remember skinshifter stories my uncle told me. Stare straight at it and say, "You know, if I finish this, you'll serve me now." It jumps up, terrified, lets out a rabbit scream. If you've ever heard one of those, it's utterly blood-curdling. Falls over itself trying to get away.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.